Hello, everybody. Let me just drag this up so I can see what we're doing. And let's see. Welcome to our show tonight. It's Thursday, the 2nd of April. Years flying by, even if we're all staying at home. How have you all been? You're all happy at home? I am. Mind you, nothing much has really changed for me. So it works well. Are you all well? That's the second question, and probably the most important. Is everybody well? If we stay at home, we'll stay well, and that's important. Now, I chose tonight's topic, facing an uncertain future. It's a bit of an update of something I wrote about 12 years ago for the first time, and then I rewrote it about 8 years ago, and then I redid it again last year and posted it in the journal in the Members Centre. But I'm going to expand on it tonight, obviously, because I can talk to you, so I can tell you more, get in more detail perhaps than I can when it has to be written to a certain style and a certain number of words. So here we go. We've got lots of people here, so bear with me because, again, I'm on my own. I'll try and look at the camera, look at this comments with one eye if I can, and keep the notes up to date. So just bear with me. We will get there. It might take us a while, but we will get there. Okay. So I'm sure everybody has heard that saying, the only thing certain in life is death. Pretty much, really, because everything else is down to hard work, good luck if you believe in it, karma, whatever, our own efforts, a little bit of creativity or something. So it happens. And right now, in 2020, and the 2nd of April 2020, death is looking like really the absolutely only thing we can be certain of, because we can't be certain that we will stay healthy. This virus is out of control. We can't be certain that we'll have jobs tonight, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. We can't be certain of those things. And if that's the case, we can't be certain that we'll have a roof over our heads, or we'll be able to pay our bills, or put food on the table. So there's a lot of uncertainty in our future. And we'll always have that. But we don't have to be scared by it, because we can plan now to breeze through it. And yes, it will take a bit of effort on your part, just like, 25 years ago, it took effort on our part to suddenly find ourselves going from 2 jobs to no job, with 2 babies to another one on the way, half a house. We were 500 kilometres in either direction from family. Wayne's trade he was put off from the only place in town that actually worked his trade. I was pregnant, so who was going to give me a job? It was a really uncertain time. Oh, and let's not forget interest rates, because way back then, interest rates were 18.5. We had friends paying 21% on their mortgage. Interest rates were out of control. So our future back then was really uncertain. If you're facing that sort of thing today, trust me when I say I know how you feel, because I do. We lived it, we went through it, we had to make sacrifices and changes, just like everybody else will. And even now in 2020, we are making changes to our lifestyle to suit this new reality, or the new normal that's going to be with us for the next 6 months, if you listen to our Prime Minister. So we're all making changes. We've all been affected by this coronavirus. And we've all been affected by the financial crisis that has spun off the coronavirus. That's hard to say, coronavirus crisis. We've all been affected by that, whether it's through losing work, or our savings are suddenly worthless, or our investments have disappeared, or cost of living is going up, income's dropping. We've all been affected. Everybody, the whole world over, has been affected by that. So we're all in the same boat. We've got hundreds of thousands of Australians that have suddenly found themselves unemployed for no reason other than a stupid little nasty virus is running the world. And that's pretty much, if you boil it down, that's what it is. We've got a little virus, so small can't be seen with the human eye, the naked eye, running the world. That virus is dictating how we're going to live. Well, I'm not going to let it. Not dictating to me, thank you. If you are one of the unemployed, I know how you feel. I really do know how you feel. I was stunned when I heard the projections for unemployment. Numbers, anything between 15 and 25% of our population will be unemployed within 12 months. Huge, huge numbers. Huge numbers. So we need to now take control and figure out what we're going to do if that happens to us, because there's no guarantee it won't. There's no guarantee that it hasn't already. Now, right now, the government is helping. We've got the Job Seeker and the Job Keeper programs going, and that's really good. But guys, the government's just like you or me. They only have X amount of dollars in the bank, and they are at this point in time actually borrowing money to be able to invest, put that money into those programs so that you will have money to spend to keep our economy going. It's a bit of a rabbit wheel and mouse wheel, isn't it? Round and round in circles. That it's not sustainable. So they won't be able, our government will not be able to do that forever and a day. So we shouldn't be relying on it forever and a day. It's not sustainable. So while it's really generous right now, 6 months down the track, they will have to review it. If they can get it to last 6 months, they will have to review it, and there will be changes made. So don't bank on that being a long-term saviour for you, because it may not be. This crisis has come out of nowhere, pretty much come out of nowhere. Well, it came out of China, but we weren't expecting it to take over the world the way it has. So it caught most of us unprepared. It caught most of us without savings. I think I saw the figures the other day. It just defeats me. It's about less than half the Australian population has $7,000 in the bank. $7,000 or more in the bank. Less than half our working adult population. That's mind-boggling. But we're carrying an awful lot of debt, an awful lot of unsecured debt with that lack of savings. So I've always said, remember I say, be a preparer, not a prepper. Be prepared. Now, I don't know if I've been preparing for a disaster for a long time. Maybe I have, because it happened to us and I knew it would happen again, or it could happen again. And I'd rather be prepared and have it not happen than not be prepared and be caught out. So we're debt free. We live really frugally. We live well, but we live really frugally. I keep my pantry stocked. I make sure we have a garden. Now, over the weekend, we planted more veggies for winter. Now, they'll take a few weeks to come up, but we planted more broccoli, we planted more cabbages, some cauliflowers, more silver beet. We've still got eggplants and capsicums in the garden. The strawberries are fruiting. We've got oranges on the tree. So we've got little bits and pieces. There's parsley and chives and rosemary and what else have I got? Tarragon and oregano in the herb patch. So they're all there. So every little bit will help us. So we planted more. I'll wait 3 weeks and I'll plant another lot of all those things. That's called succession planting if you're new to gardening, so that I won't have them all ripe at once, all ready to harvest at once. I'll be able to stagger the harvest and then have another lot coming up. So we will eat all winter off that garden. Hopefully, I'll only have to buy potatoes and carrots. I have plenty of onions, thanks to a really good bargain that Joy was able to get back in January. So I've got plenty of onions, all some dried and some frozen, so they will last us. I have plenty of garlic. Oh, that's the other thing I have growing is garlic. But that's slow. It won't be ready for a while, but it's there for us. So we'll be okay because I prepared. Okay. So if you're a preparer, you've built your pantry so that you can keep your family fed and clean and your house clean. You'll be debt-free or working on being debt-free. Point is you won't be incurring any new debt. You won't be running up any new debt. You'll be putting everything towards being debt-free. And you'll be building an emergency fund. Now, Dave Ramsey is really popular with budgeters, home budgeters. And some of his ideas are really, really good. One of them is, he like me, likes an emergency fund. But he says build your emergency fund to $1,000. Because if you have $1,000, that will cover most emergencies. Problem is, though, $1,000 won't. It can be wiped out in one car repair. It can be wiped out with having to replace one washing machine or one refrigerator. So $1,000 isn't enough. If you really want to aim for a minimum of $2,000, that will sort of get you through, and then you can slowly build up your emergency fund. We've talked about this before, so you all know how to do it. But even now, if you are unemployed, if you are relying on the job seeker payments or the job keeper payments, if you still have your job, whether you're working at work or working at home, you should still be building your emergency fund. It's not something to be ignored. Now, we've talked about the 10-10-80 plan. Give 10%, save 10%, live on 80%. That save 10% is really important. Even if your income drops, you still save 10%. You'll have to make adjustments. We all have to make adjustments, but you'll have to do it. You'll have to give up some luxury. I don't know. It might be the block of chocolate once a fortnight. It could be alcohol if you're a drinker. It could be steak. Although, the difference between steak and mince these days, it isn't that much. But anyway, you could be eating more chicken instead of red meat. You'd be eating more meatless meals and using that money to build your emergency fund. It's really important to have that emergency fund. It makes sense. It makes sense to be prepared for a disaster. As I said, if it never happens, you're ahead. You're ahead of the game. You can sit back and relax. But if it does happen, as it has, and you're prepared for it, you can go, okay, this is our plan, this is our action plan. We've got no debt, so we're not going to get any new debt. We'll live off our pantry, and I'll work out ways to make that food stretch further so it will last longer. We'll grow more in our garden. We'll give up whatever, the coffee once a week, or we're all giving those up these days, but you'll give up whatever to get through that financial crisis. And you'll have the peace of mind, and you'll have the security of knowing that you are prepared and you've been able to do it. Now, if you weren't prepared for this crisis, don't stress. You can still keep going, and you can still put some plans into place and be prepared. So here's a quote that I really like. Now, I have to read it to you because I don't want to muck it up. The reason why most people face the future with apprehension instead of anticipation is because they don't have it well designed. I love it. We get to design our futures. We are in control, folks. So we get to design our futures. We get to design whether they're full of stress and debt, or whether they're full of no debt, cashed up, and we can laugh. We can live debt-free, cashed up and laughing, but we have to design that future. We have to plan it. We have to work the plan. It's not instant. It wasn't instant for us. It won't be instant for you. But it can be done. Okay, so back to my notes. I'll get to your comments in a minute. I've been talking about emergency funds for years. For over 20 years, I've been talking about emergency funds. First to our playgroup mums, then to church groups, cheapskates in workshops, on radio, on TV. I've talked about them for years. And every time I talk about it, someone will say, is there the need to have an emergency fund? Now, I'll come up with some good reasons. I call them excuses, they call them reasons, as to why they don't have even $500 put away for an emergency. And it would be they'd rather put everything into the mortgage because they can redraw. They keep a credit card for emergencies. They can't afford to save. They're all excuses. They're not reasons, they're excuses. They just don't want to build an emergency fund. So, in the interest of being very, very clear, the first and most important thing you need to do, starting tonight, if you haven't already done it, is start an emergency fund. Okay, do it right now. As soon as this show's over, go and do it. You'll need to open a separate bank account. Online banking makes that really easy, and it is just for the emergency fund. Look, you may not have a lot to put into it at the moment. It might just be $1 a week or $5 a week, $10 a week, whatever. That's fine. It all adds up. We all know, the ant who little by little fills his little nest with food for the winter while the grasshopper just sits there and does nothing and starves. Be an ant. Now, the easiest way to get it started is obviously set it up so that a portion of your pay goes into that bank account automatically every week or fortnight or month whenever you get paid. That way you don't see it. What you don't see, you don't miss. So, you can start off small if you have to. We all had to. Then build it up until you're depositing 10% of your gross pay into the account every payday. Now, that, again, will take a long time to happen, perhaps. If you're still working and you're still on full pay, no problem. But if you've had your hours cut back, if you are unemployed at the moment, then you can't do the normal 10% of your full pay, but you can do 10% of what you're getting. It won't be easy. You will have to make sacrifices, like I said. But it's just for a short time, folks. It's not forever. In the grand scheme of your life, this is just a blip. It's not going to last for 30 or 40 or 50 years. So you can do this just for a short time. It's just a short time. And then think of the peace of mind that you'll have. Because, yes, even if you do have the credit card and the washing machine blows up, you can go out and put the new washing machine on the credit card. But then you have that debt with the exorbitant interest accruing. And I noticed I was listening to the Commonwealth Bank CEO this morning, and he's not going to budge on credit card interest rates. That was a question that was put to them. They're happy to look after mortgages, but if you have a personal loan or a car loan or a credit card debt, they are not going to budge on that. So you don't want that debt. You'll have it, and then you're right back to square one because you've still got that to pay off, and you'll still have to pay it off every month. Much better to put money into your account, have the cash. Cash is king. You can negotiate a better deal when you've got cash. You can't when you're paying with a credit card. So, if you've got to give up something, then do it to build that emergency fund. It's really important. Now, ideally, to get started, aim for $2,000. Now that's not even a month's wages. So $2,000, but it will get you over the washing machine emergency, the fridge emergency, the car repair emergency, the new tyres emergency, things like that. If you need to fly interstate for a family emergency, it should cover airfares, that sort of thing. It won't be enough for you to live on for a very long time. So ideally, you will aim for $2,000, then aim for a month's worth of living expenses. 3 months worth of living expenses is the next step. The next step after that is 6 months worth of living expenses. And once you've got to 6 months, you can decide whether you're happy with that or whether you want to keep going until you have 12 months worth of living expenses. And I mean living expenses. That's the rental, the mortgage, all the insurances, your petrol, the school fees, the kids' school books, haircuts, groceries, council rates, health insurance if you have it, new clothes, new shoes, holidays, Christmas, Easter, birthdays, absolutely everything, all those expenses. So that if things do go pear-shaped again, you can sit back and go, I'm prepared. I have the money to be able to live the way we are living, maintain our lifestyle for 6 months or 12 months. And if you're really clever, you'll stretch it so it'll last even longer. Right. So that's what you're going to work for. That's what you're going to work on. Once you've got your 12 months, you can sit back and breathe, because really 12 months worth of living expenses means if you were to lose your job and you don't have to find another one for 12 months, and you'll be able to maintain your standard of living. But it also means that you can choose to go part-time and stretch it out for 2 or 3 years, depending on how you budget and what you're prepared to stretch. There's easier things to do. But you'll have breathing room, and you'll have the security of knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be able to pay the bills, you'll be able to eat, you'll be able to keep a roof over your heads, a car in the driveway, kids at school, without stressing over the money. Because it's a stupid thing to worry about, but we all do it. We all worry about money. It's really dumb. So that's the first thing you need to do. The second thing is much more just as important, but something you can do straight away with an instant result, and that is take stock. Go to the pantry, go to your fridge, go to your freezer if you have one. Write down, because you won't remember it, so write it all down. Every single thing in the pantry, in the fridge, and in the freezer. Include the herbs and spices, all those odd ingredients you bought to make the la-di-da dishes. Count the potatoes that are in the box. Count the onions, count the carrots. the number of tomatoes, count them all. Every single thing, every single item of food, count it. And sit down with that list and make up meals. Now, I'm not asking you to make a meal plan. I'm asking you to look at what you've got, work out what meals you can make using what you have without having to buy anything. That's why I said count the potatoes and the carrots and the tomatoes and the onions and things. You need to know. Write down what you can make using just what you have. So I posted over on Cheapskates Chatter, I posted this recipe. Now I haven't tried it because I don't have an oven to bake in at the moment. But it has no butter, no eggs, no milk. It's a brilliant cake. It's over on Cheapskates Chatter. If it turns out anything like the picture, it will be amazing. Really cheap. It uses water, a little bit of oil, flour, baking soda, I think, and some sugar. Pretty easy. So sorry, folks. Lost my notes. Sorry. There we go. So do that, because once you've done that, then you can go, okay, well, look, we've got enough breakfast cereal for 3 weeks. Well, who knew? And we've got enough for lunches for 2 weeks, and we've got enough in the freezer to make dinners for, well, 42 dinners. So you can work out then how you're going to eat, and you'll know you won't need to go grocery shopping. That straight away frees up that money in your budget to use for other things. If you don't have money coming in, you need to free up as much as you can. Okay. Now, no excuses, folks. Some of the meals might be odd, not quite what the family is used to. Well, they'll just have to suck it up. Seriously? Fussy children? No such thing as fussy children. Fussy children aren't born, they are made. And don't scream at me, because yes, I know there are a very few children that really are not fussy but have absolute diagnosed issues with food. That's fine. They're not fussy. There isn't a reason for them to be fussy. But kids that turn their noses up and say, I don't like beans, or I don't like tomato, or I don't know, that's just being fussy. So they're either not hungry or spoiled. So don't scream at me, but it's the truth. If they don't want to eat it, they don't have to eat it, but they don't get anything else. I never offered an alternative. What I dished up was what they ate. If they didn't want to eat it, that was fine, but they weren't allowed to have bread or apples or wheat bix or anything else. They had to wait till the next meal. And I think I've explained before, if they said they didn't like something, we had the rule of 5. So it was 5 peas or 5 bits of carrot or 5 bits of corn or 5 little bits of mushroom or whatever. And I just gradually increased it over time until they were eating regular serves. But they had to at least try it, and they had to have 5. So yeah, fussy kids aren't born, they're made. Right. Same with fussy husbands, fussy partners. Sorry, if they're that fussy, they have to get the meal in our house. You don't like what I serve? You know the alternatives. Go hungry or cook it yourself. Easy. Right. And right now, if you are in a crisis and your future is dodgy, you can't afford to cater to fussy. So you have to suck it up yourself, and you have to put up with the tantrum if it's a tantrum, pick them up, time out, whatever. Maybe they just need to be explained to them, this is what we've got, and mummy does it. I used to say to my kids, I'd show them my purse and I'd say, this is the money for the milkman, this is the money for petrol, this is the money for whatever. I don't have money to buy biscuits or whatever it was they wanted. And they would accept that. They understood that. They knew I had to have the money to pay for things, but if I didn't have the money for whatever it was they wanted, didn't have the money. Can't pull money out of thin air. So, all right. Third thing, because we're up to number 3 now. Stop putting food in the bin. Stop putting money in the bin. Stop putting food in the bin. No more waste. Cook just the amount you need for each meal. All right, so remember your portion control. Remember portion sizes. If you're not sure about them, not sure how much a serve of each thing is, go to the Cheapskates Club website, put in what is a serve in the search up at the top, and it will bring it up for you. And it lists the average serving sizes for most things. So for vegetables, for instance, half a cup. Now, if you have to get your half cup measure out and actually measure it before you measure the peas into the pot before you cook, then do it. Don't just try and eyeball it. Do it. I use my soup ladle a lot. So when I do pasta sauces, for instance, 1 soup ladle full onto the spaghetti. That's a serve. I've got I actually have a spaghetti measurer. I don't know where it came from. I've had it since we were married, so I know where it came from. And it has holes, and you put the spaghetti in for 1 person, 2 people, 3 people, 4, and then I think it's 6 adults, and then it has child serves too. So I measure how much spaghetti I put in the pot for 5 people. I actually only do 4 because Wayne and I usually have a half a serve each, but I measure it to make sure I'm not wasting pasta. It wouldn't be wasted here anyway. It will go into the freezer to be used for another meal, but I'm not cooking more than I need. So you can't afford to be cooking more than you need now. Cook just the amount of food you need. Don't waste it. Okay. Now, number 4, you've got a lot to do tonight. Number 4, stop spending money. Right now, stop spending. You're already not going to be buying groceries for a while because you're going to do your inventory, make up your meals, work out how long it's going to take you to get through that pantry. So no buying groceries, no spending money. So that means no groceries till the pantry's empty, no clothes, no soft drinks, no alcohol, don't get food delivered. I know it's tempting. Don't get food delivered, no new clothes. Look, you're not going anywhere. We're all stuck at home. So high fashion isn't quite essential at the moment. As long as you are clean and neat and tidy, doesn't matter. But yeah, do try and be clean and neat and tidy because it's just demoralising if you're not. But you don't need new clothes. You don't need to jump online and buy new shoes or whatever. No new books. There's plenty of free ebooks that you can download, and you don't need a Kindle or anything to do it. You can get the Kindle app for your computer or your phone or your tablet and read the ebooks through that, and it's free. So no signing up to a streaming service would be nice, I'm sure, but there's plenty on free-to-air TV that you can watch if you absolutely have to. No ordering, bubble baths from the Body Shop or makeup or whatever. You're not spending any money. No new craft supplies. I'm not buying any new craft supplies. I have plenty. I need to use them up. Use what you have. So get the kids to play with the toys and games that they already have. Get them to read the books that they already have. Send virtual birthday cards. We can't meet face-to-face with our friends and family anyway, so send them a virtual birthday card, an e-card. Design it yourself. Send them that, and then later on, once this is over and you can get back to normal, you can think about, giving them a belated birthday gift if you really need to. But I'm pretty sure everyone's in the same boat. Everyone will understand, or they should. Use Messenger and FaceTime or whatever they are. I don't understand them all. But you probably all do, and you're probably already using them to speak to family and friends and to keep in touch. jump on Facebook and catch up, Skype, make Skype calls. There's plenty of ways that we can do that without spending money. Now, if you receive the $750 payments, there's one due this week and one in the end of May, I think. Don't go madly off and spend them on stuff that you don't need. And that's anything I just mentioned, and it's new furniture, new electronics, it's whatever. Because if you think about it, $750, that's 10 weeks, 2.5 months, 10 weeks worth of groceries if you are doing the $300 a month food challenge. It's actually 9 weeks, but anyway, you'll get over it. $300 a month food challenge. So what would you rather have? Food for 9 or 10 weeks, or the latest gizmo? Think about it. I'm not saying don't spend it, and it is being given by the government to stimulate the economy, so they want you to spend it. Spend it wisely. Just think about how you're going to spend it. Spend it wisely. Don't blow it. Make it work for you. Your $750 on groceries can easily stretch out to $1,000 or $1,500 if you use it to buy things on half price. And while they're not being advertised, there are still quite a few things, if you go looking for them in your supermarket, that are on half price. So use it wisely. That's all I can say. I'm not saying don't spend it. Use it wisely. Last thing is number 5. Start growing at least some of the food you eat. Now, I mentioned earlier that we spent the weekend in our garden. Wayne was, digging over the beds, and I was planting seeds, and I had some seedlings to transplant, so we did that. Because food is going to get really expensive. We've had an awful drought. Then we had the bushfires. There have been floods through a lot of the market garden areas. Now we have this disaster on our hands. That's 4 things in the space of about 3 months, 4 months, that have affected our food supply. So while there's plenty of it, I'm sure there's plenty of it, it's going to be really expensive for all those reasons, because there won't be an abundance. There will be enough, but there won't be an abundance. And of course, it's demand fed, consumer demand fed. So the more people that want it, the more expensive it's going to be. Just the way it is. Right. Sharon, I'll answer you in a moment. Okay. So grow what you can. Look, it might just be some lettuce. Now, pretty much in Australia, except maybe the very middle of the Northern Territory, lettuce will grow all year round. It'll grow in Tasmania all year round. It will grow in North Queensland all year round. It grows all down the east coast through New South Wales, South Australia, into Western Australia all year round. It's one of those, we think of it as a summer vegetable and we plant it for our summer salads, but it grows all year round. It's easy to grow too, and it's easy to grow from seed. So it doesn't have a great deal of nutritional value, but it's one of those foods that is very uplifting and very soul making you happy, because it's green and it's crunchy and it's crisp and it's fresh, and it's nice to have something like that. Whereas the things that are good for us, like kale, are dark green and leafy and spiky and bitter and tough, and so rainbow silver beet instead of the regular, if you want to grow it. The rainbow, it just looks prettier with the coloured stalks. It's lovely. Still got the green leaves, still nice and healthy and good for you. But the coloured stalks, the yellows and the reds, are really pretty. So it's something to think about, and it grows really easy too. Silver beet's another thing that will grow all year round. Lots of things will. I think when we first start gardening, we're very anxious to get the garden going and get the food producing and make it right and do everything by the book. But the more experience you have, the more you figure out that the book's just a guideline. It's just a guide. Gives you some suggestions, and then you can follow them and expand on them to suit you. So don't be afraid to try it. Pots. I was looking at a friend's post today, and she has pots, but they're not pots because pots are expensive to buy. So she's got drums that have been cut in half. She's got wheelbarrows lined with weed mat and filled with soil because you've drilled holes in them so the water will drain. All sorts of things. Black plastic pots that she's picked up off hard rubbish, old cement tubs, all sorts of things. We had the drums out of some old washing machines that were beyond repair. So the drums came out and they made wonderful pots. Lined them with weed mat, fill them up with soil. The holes were really good for letting air in and letting the water drain out so they didn't become waterlogged. They were wonderful. And they're really good size. You can grow heaps in a washing machine drum, heaps of things. Old fridges, do the same thing. Take the door off, take the shelves out, drill holes through the bottom for drainage, use them as raised garden beds. Easy things to do. Right. So, all right. Now, and you can't say you don't have time because, you know, even if you're working from home, you don't have the commute anymore. So that frees up at least some time every morning and every afternoon. So you've got a bit of time to put into the garden. There's no excuse. Now, I just want to pop over onto Sharon was saying she can't get seeds and she's in Tasmania. Unfortunately, yeah, Tasmania, Western Australia and South Australia for some things have really strict quarantine rules regarding seeds, and your parcels will be picked out as they go through the x-ray thing at the post office, and the fines are really, really steep. So you don't want to do that. So you can't send seeds, but we are doing a seed swap over in the members forum. We just have to remember that Western Australians can send to us. We can't send to them, so they'll need to swap within their state. Same with Tassie, and I've said South Australia too, because trying to sort out which ones are safe and which ones aren't is too difficult. So they're the three states that will have to swap amongst themselves. But hopefully between all of us, we'll be able to get some seeds going that we don't have so that we can all get decent winter and spring and summer gardens going. But that's over in the members forum. Most of the seeds, so Diggers, Green Living, is it Eden Seeds, SGA, they're all either sold out or closed their online stores for the moment. Coles my local Coles had some seeds the other day. I was looking just out of curiosity because I like to know. I believe the reject shop still has some if you can get to a reject shop. Otherwise, try and swap with friends. Jump on. There's a... oh, she's not on tonight. Darn. Otherwise, there are some Facebook groups that swap seeds, do seed swaps. So you can try them. And that would actually be good because you'll find a group in your area, so the seeds that you're swapping will be suitable for your zone, which will help. Barb, you can grow absolutely anything in pots. Choose things that you want to eat. So tomatoes. So if you're going to put tomatoes in, and you can do tomatoes at this time of year in your zone. So if you like big tomatoes, 1 per pot. If you like the smaller tomatoes, the Tommy Toes are really good to grow. They grow easily from seed if you can get the seed or from seedling. The tomatoes aren't the tiny ones, they're medium size, sort of a golf ball size they can get up to, depending on how soon you pick them, and they have a really nice flavour. But you can plant spring onions, you can do garlic, you can do lettuce in pots, strawberries, pretty much anything, silver beet, English spinach, capsicums, eggplants. If you're going to do those, 1 per pot because they get quite big and bushy. You can do beans and peas. Will go into pots. Now, bush beans are really good for pots. Bush beans get to be maybe 50, not quite 2 feet, so maybe 50 centimetres, maybe 18 inches high and quite bushy. So 1 to a pot for those. And 1 or 2 plants would be more than enough for you, give you heaps to eat and some to freeze or bottle. So those sorts of things, but just about anything in a pot will grow. With pots, you just need to remember they need to be watered more often because they dry out. There's a smaller amount of soil, and in the pots, the pot will heat up, which is really good for germination and getting the plants to grow, but it means the soil dries out really quickly too, so you'll need to water them more often because they don't have the water resource, the water table from the ground to draw on. Is it too late for potatoes in Melbourne, Northwest? It's not time to plant potatoes yet. Give them, potatoes are usually June, July for Melbourne, I think, if I remember. Yeah, it's too late and too early to plant them. Lisa, you can try. Look, seriously, here's the thing, folks. I've pulled the tomatoes out because I needed the space this year. But last year, I left the tomato plants in and we were still picking tomatoes off them in July, at the end of July, nearly into August. And I left, the only reason I pulled them out was because I needed the space for the summer garden. So if you look after them, and it might mean if you're in a frost zone, you run out at night and put a sheet over them to protect them from frost, make sure they're well watered, feed them. Now, again, this is where I differ slightly from the books, but going on what Wayne's granny always did, what my mum always did, and what another friend who had the most magnificent to die for veggie garden always did was every week. I feed my fruit trees every week. Every Sunday I go out and I just give them a little sprinkle of worm tea or bokashi tea or sea salt if I have to, and I do the same with the veggies. Sunday is feeding day. I feed them every week without fail. A little often is much better than one big dump of food. They grow better, the plants are healthier, they are less prone to be attacked by bugs and insects and things like that. So keep them well fed, protect them from the frost, and if you need to, you think they need to be a bit warmer, glass jars over the top if they're small plants, acts like a little mini greenhouse, or white plastic bottles over the top. Still let the light in, but also hold the warmth in. Will work too. You can get, I don't know what they're called, tunnels. Bunnings sell them. They're not very expensive, and it's sort of wire in a arch, sort of like little hoop houses. Have you seen them in the commercial gardens? They have big long rows, and they have the hoops over, and then they run the poly plastic over the top. Well, you can get them at Bunnings. They're like little polytunnels, just made for home gardens. They're not very expensive at all. And if you look after them, they last for years and years and years. I have a couple of those that I spread out if I think it's going to be really frosty and cold, to give them, to keep things growing. Or you could, you know, when you've fully funded your emergency fund and are totally debt-free, save up for a real greenhouse. That's on my wish list, a real greenhouse. Not a plastic one, but a real greenhouse. Okay. Right. Yeah. Welcome, Barb. Okay, now, lost the notes, guys. Sorry. Right. So, if you have a plan, your future won't be so uncertain because you know what you're going to do. There will still be hiccups along the way. Of course there will. But you'll be able to go, well, okay, we'll move on to plan B because plan A went your left turn when it should have gone straight ahead. So we'll move on to plan B. Rework your plan. Just remember, like your budget, your goals aren't set in concrete. They have to be flexible to move with the changes that life throws at you. So they're not set in cement. So if something goes wrong and it's not working, change it so it works. Don't feel bad about it and don't worry about it. Just do it. Like I said on Tuesday night, just, goodness sake, just do it. I had a giggle about some of the comments too about just doing it. So it depends how mini the greenhouse is, but usually Estelle is asking how many greenhouses let the oxygen out and the carbon dioxide in. There's usually vents. If they're solid, like solid glass greenhouses, they have windows that will open, so you open those during the day, close them at night. If you have a plastic one, I know Aldi had some greenhouses for sale a couple of weeks ago. They're all plastic. They don't have a floor in them and a bottom in them, so you don't have the issue with those because there's plenty of air circulating through them. Don't know that I'm an inspiration, Kathleen. I'm probably just an ag. I just like, but you know. So Joy's got a lettuce with the roots and she's got it in a jar of water. It might actually last better if you put it into a pot with some soil. It'll keep growing. I don't know about the water. There might not be enough nutrients in the water. You could try putting some sea salt in it or some worm tea or whatever you've got to feed it because there's no nutrients in the water. So it will need something to be able to keep growing, to keep producing. So, but yeah, the more you pull the leaves off, the more it will grow. When I do lettuces in the garden, I never pull up a whole lettuce. I just go out and I take the leaves off a half a dozen of them at a time. Same with the silver beet and the spinach. Just pull a couple of leaves off each plant to use and they just keep regrowing. What else does that? The Chinese cabbage will do that too. Will just keep growing as long as you just pull the outside leaves off when they get to the size you want them to be. They'll just keep growing and grow, which is really good because it saves them going to seed because all those things will bolt to seed really quickly at the change of the weather, and it can be too hot, it can be too dry, it can be too sunny, too cloudy, all sorts of things. set them to bolt. So you'll get longer out of them if you do that. Just pick a few leaves off each one. It doesn't work with cabbages. But if you cut your cabbages, leave probably 5 centimeters or so on the stalk of the cabbage, it will shoot off little ones that are like, they look like little Brussels sprouts, but they're not Brussels sprouts. They're little cabbages, but they're whole little cabbages, and they're really cute and they're very tasty and very tender. So your cabbages will keep producing for you too. Now I'm still, did I just see? I saw something. Sorry guys, okay. The jars only go over them at night. So during the day, it's still, and your jars are usually big anyway. So you've got a choice. If you're using, I don't have one. Here we go, folks. Look at this. If you've got a little plant, you need to put a big enough jar over it so that it will fit and give it room to move, room to grow. So I like, I don't have any here, but bigger, wider mouth jars. I have a whole heap of them out in the shed that are, I don't know where I got them from, I honestly don't know. And they're quite high, they go over. Now they don't dig them into the ground, just sit them on top of the dirt, on top of the soil. They're fine. They work really well. And in fact, if it's going to be a warm day, or a sunny day, especially, so anything over about 18 degrees, you need to take the jars off because they will cook. The plants will cook. Same as in the greenhouse. If you, on a hot day, open the door of your greenhouse to cool it down. Otherwise your plants will cook. They will get too hot. So, yeah. Broccoli does the same thing. Yes, Joy, it does. Really good. 25 litres of worm juice. Oh my gosh, how good is that? What a blessing. Right. Ants and bugs eating your strawberries. Okay, Lisa, some corn flour or some plain flour in a sifter and sift it over the top of them. The ants don't like it. The slugs that eat the strawberries dry up on it and hate it. Snails hate it. Try that. But just some corn flour. Corn flour is quite cheap. Aldi sell it, and I'm pretty sure there's no limit on it. But you don't need a lot. In a sifter or a strainer, and just sprish it over the top. I like to use the corn flour because it's safe. It's edible. I don't have to worry about waiting till, remembering to thoroughly wash everything and get all the leaves done, or waiting until it's, been so many days before I can pick the fruit or whatever. So corn flour is really versatile in the garden for all sorts of things like that. For snails and slugs, crush your eggshells up when you use your eggs. Just rinse them out, smash them up, and sprinkle them around the base of your plants. Snails won't like them, slugs won't like them, ants will crawl over it, but that gets rid of snails and slugs really easily, again, without putting anything toxic into your gardens. You don't have to worry about pets, then you don't have to worry about children. So that works really well too. Alrighty. Mm. Yep. Cut the top off 2-litre drink bottles. Soft drink bottles will work. The 3-litre ones or anything like that will work. Yeah, give it a try, Lisa. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, all you've wasted is a few cents in corn flour. It's not a great drama. Snails love beer. Yes, so beer in a lid, an old jar lid. Put it around your garden. Fill it up with beer. We don't have beer, so talcum powder is great for paths and things, Tanya. Not so great on your veggies though. Yeah, alrighty. So, ladies, I'm still scrolling through your comments, trying to catch up. Now, cooked supplies. No, out of seasons. Yes. Swap groups are really good for seeds. We've got Tanya here, Outback Tanya, and she's just said she can grow. If she can grow food in the desert, anyone can. Tanya has a blog and she shows photos of her garden. It is amazing. I just love looking at Tanya's photos of her garden. She has wicking beds. She's just the most amazing setup. Absolutely something I would aspire to. Absolutely love going to Tanya's blog. So guys, Sharon, the other thing you can do is save seeds. So if you have a pumpkin, save the seeds. If you have a sweet potato, cut a bit off, let it dry out, plant it. If you have potatoes, you can plant Tassie's great for potatoes. The best potatoes in Australia come from either, the Victorian High Country or Tasmania because the climate is so good. So good for potatoes. So, potatoes will be really easy to grow from seed. If you have know a friend with strawberry plants, get a couple of runners because strawberry plants just grow off runners. And they're really easy. They're like weeds sometimes. You just plop them in the ground, give them some water, bit of sea salt once or twice, and let them take off. And you'll have strawberries. And strawberries are quite prolific. If you look after them, they will just keep producing. They're really, really good. What else? If you have tomatoes, you buy tomatoes, buy an extra one. Choose a nice big one, and if you can find one that's a bit soft and squishy, this is really good. Now, Carol's not on tonight, but she taught us this. If you then slice it, so just normal slices, get a pot, put some soil in it, put the slices of your tomato slices around the top of the pot, cover them with soil or potting mix or veggie mix, whatever you've got. Not too deep, probably only about a centimetre over the top of them, and water them. Now keep it damp, and all the seeds in those slices of tomatoes will come up as little tomato plants. Now Maureen tried it and I tried it. In the end, I ended up with 3 really strong tomato plants out of it. I culled all the rest because we had tomatoes coming out of places we didn't want tomatoes, but it works really, really well. Now, they'll all come up and you will have to thin them, but as they get bigger, you can do that. Now, that's a good thing to start. Oh, you're in Tassie, so I would start it. I'd plan to do that probably end of August, September, so that you would have the seedlings ready to transplant by sort of mid-October, mid to late October, when the weather's starting to warm up just a bit, even if you do have to put a bottle or a jar over them for a while. That's another way to get tomatoes growing. And if you've got tomatoes that are really nice to eat, much easier than the way I used to do it was rinse the pulp under the tap in the strainer and get it all out and then lay them out to dry them, and then I'd make my seed tapes and plant them. This method is much easier. So yeah, Maureen got 3 from 1 tomato too. Spring onions will regrow. Just keep snipping the tops and they will regrow. If you get a bunch of spring onions from the greengrocer, they always come with the roots on them. So pot them up and then just keep snipping the tops. And through winter, you don't really want the bulby part. You usually want the green bit in winter. So do that, try that. Spring onion, yes. Celery. I haven't had much luck growing celery full stop because celery is very slow to grow, and I don't have a lot of space for my garden. So when I could buy celery for $1 a bunch, using a half a garden bed to grow 12 bunches was a bit of a waste because they are really slow to grow. So I never actually, it's not one of my favorite things to grow. It's one of those, if I've got space, I might put it in things. But I have seen that people sit the bottom of the celery, chop the stalks off. You've got that round bit with sit that over a glass of water and let the roots develop, and then it will grow too. But again, there's no nutrients in that water, so you will need and I'm pretty sure they don't say that in those posts, but you would need to feed it with something to get it to keep growing. So whatever. Oh, free tomatoes. Yes. Capsicum seeds. Yep. Yeah, I saved the capsicum seeds too. Yeah, celery it's slow and it's a heavy water for, I don't know, the return on investment for me. Celery isn't worth growing, but in saying that, there's no way I will pay $11 for a bunch of celery. So come spring, I may well be rearranging the garden to try and fit some more in, because I just couldn't. I can't justify $11 for a bunch of celery. Crikey, that's a week's fruit and veg money for us. So it's just not going to happen. Okay, guys. Are you all happy to face the future now? Do we all have a plan? Do we know what we're going to do? It's not nearly so terrifying. We can work it out. It'll work out in the end. I can say that because 25 years ago, I was living it. And it was hard. It was hard, but it was for just that. It wasn't for long. It was only for a short time, in our lives. And we've been laughing ever since. So if you're thinking that right now is looking really dismal and the future is bleak, no, it's not. It's not, because you're not going to let it be bleak. You're going to turn it into something really amazing for you and your family. You have the power to do that. You have the skills, you have the ability, and if you're not sure, come back to us. Go to the Cheapskates Club website, go through back issues of the newsletter, get onto Cheapskates Chatter, get into the member forum, ask the questions, because someone will have an idea for you or a suggestion for you. You don't have to do it on your own. We are all in this together and we will all support each other. That's the beauty of this community. We've got a big anniversary coming up for Cheapskate soon. It's very exciting. I just realised this afternoon, oh my gosh, I have to have something big. We might have to hire the Flemington Racecourse on Cup Day and have I don't know, we'll do something really big. We have a really big anniversary coming up. But over that time, I've made so many really good friends. And they're amazing. And we're all amazing. So we can all help each other. So, uncertain future, maybe. Finances are uncertain, maybe. But we can make it certain because we know what to do and we know how to do it. So I didn't want this to be a downer sort of thing, but it turned into that. But it doesn't have to be. And I don't want anyone to worry about it. If you've got problems, talk to someone about them. It can be worked out. There's always a way to work it out. Now, the bank's being really good about mortgages. We got a wonderful note from our ISP about, not to worry if we couldn't afford to pay the bill, just let them know, they'll carry it for us. All sorts of really good things. The one thing we have to do, and we all have to do, is if we're in trouble, we have to tell the person or the company or whatever, this is what's happening, and let them know. If you let them know, especially right now, if you let them know, there's not going to be an issue. If you don't let them know, there will be. So be upfront. And it's hard to pick up the phone and say, I can't pay my electricity bill or whatever. But there's concessions being made for that because we all know that times are pretty tough, but we can come out the other side stronger than ever and with a better plan. So I think that's what we want to do. Milk container. Soft drink bottles, Joy. I use soft drink bottles over my celery, like the I don't know whether they're 2 litres or 1.25, whatever those soft drink bottles are. Chop the bottom off, and I leave the top off. So bottom off, top off, lid off, pop it over the plant, and let it grow up like that. They work. Sorry guys, kind of a bit blank. I've lost the. You can use the white milk bottles if you want to keep them dark, like you do for asparagus. So keep them out of the light. So asparagus, you keep piling the dirt up so that they don't get the light, they stay white. But anyway, alrighty. I shall go. I shall see you on Tuesday. Have a lovely weekend, everyone. We're going to have a really cold weekend. We might light the fire, I think, and snuggle around the fire with a hot chocolate and a book. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Might get some more cards made because I'm falling behind on the card making. Whoops. So anyway, have a nice weekend, everybody. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to answer them for you. Joy, sorry, just jumping in. Joy, find someone that buys the juice in the cartons and use those. Maybe a cafe or somewhere like that might have them. So when they do because they get the big packs of whatever. Anyway, okay, guys, have a lovely weekend. I shall see you on Tuesday. And just remember, the future's not that uncertain anymore. We've got a plan. Bye.